So this is the neighborhood I grew up in, and that's Farley's house. So
he was over here?
Yeah.
In the small Oregon town where Nicole Snow grew up, there was no escaping David Farley.
Yeah, these windows on this side of the building.
You remember being in there?
Yeah, that's where I saw Farley.
Farley was her neighbor, her doctor, a coach at her high school, and in her tight-knit Mormon community, a widely respected leader in the church.
I would see Farley at every Sunday. Growing up, I felt great and safe, and then this building became a place that didn't feel safe for me anymore.
When did you become his patient?
Yeah, at the age of 15. I saw him over 40 times from the age of 15 to 18.
Over 40 times?
Over 40
That's
times.
a lot.
It's a lot. And in those 40 times, he was able to sexually abuse me multiple times a year.
Snow is now one of more than 100 former patients who say they went to Farley for care, but he took advantage of them instead.
He told me and my mother that he had a young patient die of cervical cancer. And so he wanted to check all his patients starting at a young age. The length at which he would check or do pap smears was extremely long. He was penetrating me and giving me rectal exams. When I first turned 18, it was the first exam that I saw him without my mother. So he wanted to give me a hymenectomy. He just said he would want to stretch me out a little bit. I first said no, and his demeanor changed, and it got aggressive. So I said, sure. Not fully knowing what I was consenting to. I just remember looking over and seeing his hands very bloody and him walking to the sink and washing his hands while I still laid there on the bed, terrified.
The Mormon church is trusting and they believe their male leadership. They believe that the men in charge have a direct link to God.
Katie Medley also grew up Mormon. She saw another doctor in Farley's small group practice until 2016, when she says he recruited her to be his patient at a church event.
He had a really good ability to make you feel like you're special, that special treatment.
Were there experiences that you had in his office that you now look back on differently?
One of the main things for me is frequency. I had 11 penetrative exams in 4 years, and I trust him, right? He's an ecclesiastical leader at church, layer of trust. He's a physician, layer of trust.
In 2019, Medley says Farley had her come in for a follow-up exam.
That appointment is one that's hard for me to talk about. And I just remember that he was just moving his finger a lot, and he just said, everything feels really good. And then he took his hand out and kept fondling my external genitalia. And I just remember being in my car after that appointment, just sobbing on the way home because I didn't understand what was happening to me. He had sexually stimulated me that entire appointment.
Lisa Pratt also met Farley through the church and became increasingly uncomfortable with his exams, like when he had her come to his home for a pregnancy checkup.
His wife, Anne, she led me to their bedroom, laid a towel down on their bed, and he came in alone, and he shut the door behind him. And he was in there for a long time. And I remember laying there and thinking, what's going on? And then he hurt me. It hurt really bad. And it made my whole body jump.
My neighbor, Lisa, she popped over one day and she said, kind of out of the blue, hey, have you ever had a weird experience with Dr. Farley? And immediately I knew.
In 2020, the Oregon Medical Board notified Farley of complaints about his behavior, from excessive, unnecessary breast and pelvic exams on underage patients to ungloved pelvic exams, exams at home, and that he'd taken naked photographs of minors for what he claimed would be an educational pamphlet on puberty. Under investigation, Farley announced his retirement, but did not mention the allegations. As word got out, medical board investigator Jason Caruth told police his office was slammed with patients coming forward. Among those were Medley, Snow, and Pratt.
He's like, I don't know if this makes you feel better or not, but you are not alone. I have already had calls with about maybe 20 women who have given stories almost identical to yours.
The three of us and two other women were the first to report.
What was that experience like?
It was terrible.
People close to me had the same experience with Tony Christensen and the other detectives that on our case. He just straight up said it's going to be really hard to prosecute a doctor.
Appalled by their experience, the women blasted the police department.
We need to consider the effect that a botched investigation like ours has on our community.
This led the city to commission an investigation, which found lost case files, potential neglect of duty, and that Detective Christensen was uninformed and did not have the training to conduct these interviews. Christensen has since retired and could not be reached. The Westland Police Department declined to comment. The medical board revoked Farley's license, finding he'd committed sexual misconduct with multiple patients. Over the next 2 years, Westland Police did their investigation, bringing in Oregon District Attorney John Wentworth and Deputy Sarah Dumont.
She said, well, you were only abused just about 10 times, right? I remember crying, saying back to her, is 10 times not enough?
Wentworth told CNN this is a false allegation and never happened. In 2022, the DA's office brought the claims before a grand jury. The women say Wentworth and Dumont fumbled the case, only allowing testimony from a small fraction of patients who had filed police reports.
It felt like she was defending Farley. She was interrupting me, undercutting my statements.
After deliberations, the grand jury said they didn't have enough evidence for a criminal indictment. Farley would not be charged.
It almost was like out of body. Like it just could not be real that they would say no.
In a March op-ed, Wentworth defended his office, saying all known patients with a colorable claim of abuse testified before the grand jury. In a statement to CNN, he added, Dr. Farley's behavior was unprofessional and deserved sanction, but proving that his conduct was criminal is another matter.
Right now, Farley's not facing any criminal charges.
It's scary. Like one story should have been enough. And now there's over 100, and it's still not enough.
The women are now part of a civil suit against Farley, alleging he engaged in sexual misconduct with over 100 of his patients, including children as young as 5. Pushing for some kind of accountability, the women also reached out to their local church leader for help.
He said, this has gone up as high as it can go with leadership in the church.
We've tracked David Farley down to the small town of Nephi, Utah, and we just want to try to hear from him about these allegations his patients have raised against him. I was trying to see if David Farley was home.
Farley didn't respond to our interview requests, and his wife wouldn't speak to us when we came to their door. His lawyer declined to comment. But his longtime friend confirmed he's still part of the church.
He's there every week and being engaged in the discussions, the classes.
Some of the former patients have said that they've asked the church to consider excommunicating him.
I'm definitely aware of that process. Church leadership in our community are aware of it.
The church told us a formal review will follow the end of litigation, but that Farley is banned from going to any church property, except in the town where he lives, where he is allowed to attend Sunday services when accompanied by his spouse.
I think the church does a really good job at creating a paradise for predators.
The people that you go to church with really do feel like family.
He's still allowed to be in the family.
Yeah.
Should he be?
Absolutely not.
Pratt, Medley, and Snow have all left the Mormon faith. They're actively pushing for the Attorney General to reopen the criminal case. The AG's office told CNN its Criminal Justice Division continues to review the matter.
It's just a lot of people, a lot of damage he's created.
Yeah.
And since you guys have come forward, you've heard from so many other people.
This is why we do it.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it, Tony Christensen, if you're not going to do it, John Wentworth, then I guess we'll freaking do it.
Mina Durson, CNN, Wilsonville, Oregon.